Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Kislev and the Chaos Dwarfs. It's going to be Ulrika facing off against Astrogoth Ironhand. They'll be coming in from reserves in just a second, don't you worry. Now, as far as my build goes, it basically has all the things that, in my opinion, the Chaos Dwarfs can struggle with. Little Groms are super good. If your opponent comes in with Magma Cannons, Deathstreak Rockets, a Dreadquake Mortar if they're feeling a little bit crazy, Little Groms are going to be able to counter pretty much all those things. So we do have two Little Groms backed up by a bunch of Sleds. Sleds are going to be exceptional at running over their infantry. So if they have Chaos Dwarf Warriors, Infernal Ironsworn, any sort of Laborer units, the Heavy War Sleds are going to be super disruptive. So that's going to be the opening, backed up by Ulrika. And I honestly think that a lot of people are just going to start bringing her as the Lord for Kislev, even though she's a hero. Obviously in Domination mode, you can bring heroes as your Lords. She has Lord of Shadows, which is super good against Chaos Dwarfs if they have any sort of Infernal Ironglaives, Blunderbusses, Ironsworn. Even basic Chaos Dwarf Warriors are a worthy target at 650 gold. She's going to be able to cast huge Pit of Shades on their heads and really get you a lot of value, so quite solid. And she also has bonus first infantry. So here's the next thing. She has bonus first infantry, so that means Astrogoth Ironhand is an infantry-sized character. Therefore, she can duel him pretty well, and she regenerates in combat with the Hunger being a vampire. And her leadership is super hard to break because she has the Kislev lore passive in tandem with being undead. So it's super hard to crumble her, and I really like Ulrika. I mean, she's not super cheap. She is 1,700 with this bare bones kit, but I feel like she's going to be a staple and will be used in a lot of matchups. So we got some Kosovite Dervishes, and the infantry will be coming soon. For the Chaos Dwarves, low ground, it's going to be some Hobgoblin Cutthroats. So these are the shielded variant of the two goblins. So you have the Sneaky Gits, which are the dual-wielding variant with the Precursor ammo and Vanguard deployment. And these guys are the shielded variant, which aren't bad against like skirmisher units, right? So if your opponent has any sort of like archer units, just throw these guys up and they'll live their best lives. Up on the high ground for the Chaos Dwarfs, it is going to be a very wide build. So we have Infernal Ironsworn, which are really nasty. Their blasting charges can do extremely disruptive damage against single entities, against chariots, against cavalry, against infantry. But they're expensive. They do cost 1,300. They're basically Chaos Dwarf Ironbreakers, backed up by Dwarf Warriors in the back, a couple Orc Laborers, and Astrogoth's going to be joining the party soon. My opponent wisely didn't go with the Magma Cannons. If you had come in with Magma Cannons here against Little Groms, you lose that duel super hard. And I think that's one of the things that, though Magma Cannons are very strong and they have some other units like Astrogoth, that I would say the Magma Cannons and Astrogoth are the strongest aspects of the roster. But yeah, like they do have their glaring weaknesses, right? Like artillery duels can be tricky for the Chaos Dwarves because Deathstreaks can duel enemy artillery, but they're not going to have the same range as like Dwarven Cannons and those type of things. Granted, if you were on like an Itza type map where it was very small, the Deathstreaks might be able to fight back against Little Groms if you heal them with a Demon Smith. So the Chariot's going to charge in, starting to run over some of these bad boys, and now the Sled's going to be coming across for Urson, baby. The Bears are feasting tonight, as the other Sleds will start getting into the elite infantry, and we do see Astrogoth here, and he is just such a pain. He's so fast. Oh no, it's Gordas. Okay, I saw him in the distance. It was about the same size. But Gordas, El Gordo, as I like to call him, is going to be on his wolf. And he doesn't have great armor piercing, but he can stick right on top of the Sleds and do some work. Little Groms blasting into the elite infantry, so I do have them shooting at the Infernal Ironsworn here in the back. Whereas on the low ground, I do get some Kosovite Dervishes to go after the Hobgoblins, but strangely enough, the Hobgoblins do take a lot of damage on the charge, but the Hobgoblins actually probably would win in sustained combat because of how good their weapon strength is and their numbers. So we'll have to keep tabs on that. Now, Sled's going to be jumping into the elite troops, so I do have my Sled blob. One Sled's going to be moving up here, and anytime you can charge from the side with these Sleds is when they do the most damage. So here they come. Oh my god. And Dwarves already hate chariots, right? And Chaos Dwarfs have inherited that from their cousins here, as Gordas, El Gordo getting shot a little bit, but these Chaos Dwarfs getting absolutely pounded as we're going to be moving into the Infernal Ironsworn. Now Ulrika Magdova going to be dropping a fat Pit of Shades here, which is exactly what you want to be doing. You want to blob them up with your chariots and single entities and then drop Pit of Shades, taking advantage of the fact that Chaos Dwarfs do not really have good magic res. Let's look at the damage. Oh my god, they're getting destroyed, and that was overcasted. Pit of Shades did get nerfed in this patch. It got a Winds of Magic increase, if I'm not mistaken. Overcasted Pit of Shades is now somewhere in the 20s. Now, as far as units we're going to be summoning in, we do summon in the old Ice Guard Glaives, because I was kind of expecting some Bull Centaur renders, something big. And Ice Guard are basically a hard counter against Bull Centaurs because they have the anti-large halberds, and they can also shoot from a distance and frostbite them, slow them down to like 40 speed, and you can really live your best life. So more Dervishes going to be coming out from Vanguard as the Kislevite forces continue to harry and outmaneuver the much slower Chaos Dwarves. And even though the Bull Centaurs could potentially kill the War Sleds, Bull Centaurs themselves do not have good movement speed. It's only 60, and if you slow them down or shoot them with Little Groms, they're going to be having some serious problems. So yeah, Infernal Ironsworn here getting pounded pretty good, as we do see El Gordo teaming up with, I believe, Astrogoth. So yeah, Astrogoth is out now, and he's really quick. He's got 60 speed, so he can definitely keep pace with these chariots if they decide to stop and charge things, and each of his attacks probably going to be doing considerable damage. So I really need to get the value where I can. Now, there is going to be some sort of witchcraft going down. Really, really nice cast from my opponent there. Beautiful. Flamestorm was buffed, so it's a pretty good spell now. You can see one Flamestorm, not even overcasted, did a ton of damage against my Ice Guard, and they're going to be forced back, and I do take some considerable casualties on those ladies. But now we got some real infantry coming up. We do have the Armored Cossars. El Gordo going to be hunting down Ulrika. Granted, Ulrika probably could beat him in combat simply because of her healing capabilities, but it's still not a fight I want to take. El Gordo, did he bring the healing, or the buff and the heal? No, he didn't, so potentially a fight Ulrika could do very good in. But these sleds are just causing just massive, massive havoc back here. Once again, charging into the Infernal Ironsworn, the Chaos Dwarf infantry trying to move up. On the backside, I was forced back. The two Hobgoblins were able to beat my Kosovo Dervishes, which I was quite surprised about, but it is what it is. And Ulrika, doing her dad proud here. She does battle here with Gorda as Backstabber. If you guys haven't read the Gotrek and Felix books, she's a really, really cool character in those stories. And yeah, obviously, a little bit of a spoiler by just seeing what she is, but yeah, it's a great book. Gorda's Backstabber here, getting shanked down by Ulrika, teamed up with the Armored Cossars, and the sled's still just charging about as we do see some Bull Centaur renders coming out, so the Bull Centaurs finally going to be on the hunt. You know, maybe figuring Astrogoth was going to be enough to drag these things down. He has been doing okay damage, but overall, I'm more than happy with the outcome of Astrogoth just chasing here and allowing my he's not hunting my other characters, he's not going after Ulrika, rather he's chasing these sleds and doing a damage, but not like a critical massive damage, I would say. Now we got Goblin Laborers moving in. Going to be very annoying. I don't want my Ice Guard going to be fighting chaff units, so Little Groms could potentially be shut down for a moment. I do have them in guard mode, just ripping shots into the Bull Centaurs and any other advancing units. And the dreaded Chaos Dwarf Infantry Legion is moving, and Chaos Dwarves can play that same style as the regular Dwarves, basically just swaths and swaths of infantry and, target the objectives and get those double and triple caps and then just win that way. But, again, I would say the Dwarves do that in some ways better. So heavy war sleds moving into the Chaos Dwarfs and the not Infernal Ironsworn, are they? Yeah, it looks like they're a little bit out of their ammo, though, as the Bull Centaurs do move in. Little Groms ripping fat shots, and the Ice Guard Glaives also going to be putting that Frostbite damage in. So their speed is going to be mitigated down to 43, so basically, slower than Slaanesh infantry at this point. Pit of Shades in the distance, nailing those Chaos Dwarf Warriors, also hitting the Infernal Ironsworn. Ulrika has been doing huge work this game, and I'm so happy that Kislev has her as an option. Kislev is a faction that has really strong roots, is kind of the analogy I've always used. Kind of held back in many ways by their Lores of Magic. Granted, you could do the same thing with the Lore of Tempest and using Blizzard, but Ulrika also is like a good fighter with some utility, so I think that's nice. And she heals, she's very self-sufficient. She doesn't have a bear mount, which is kind of strange, although I guess since she's a vampire, maybe she's not down to party on the bears, but who knows. On the side, you get Armored Cossar, so the big, thick Kislev boys able to push back the Hobgoblins. And even if Chaos Dwarf Infantry do come up, I would say Armored Cossars versus Chaos Dwarf Infantry is a pretty even fight. They do have more models, though, so it's going to be 90 models. And the Chaos Dwarfs have 30-44 against 36-34, but more armor piercing, so the Armored Cossars with Grey Opens should end up winning that fight. Now, looking at the points, it's 275 to 454. Sled's still running rampant. The Bull Centaurs did make it into the backfield and were able to get on top of Little Groms, but Winged Lancers and light shock cab in general are pretty good against Bull Centaurs. Yeah, if the Bull Centaurs can get the charge on them and get them one-on-one, it's going to be horrific. And oh my god, the Infernal Ironsworn blasting charges did so much damage, but we have Ulrika fighting here, who again is healing in combat. We have our Boyar, so we brought our actual Lord as our Boyar on foot. And, he is also not a bad choice against Astrogoth since he's bonus versus infantry. If you want to kill Astrogoth, you need those type of monsters, like a Tomb Scorpion or a Chimerian War Sphinx, those type of anti-infantry pieces. And War Sleds actually don't do bad against Astrogoth because he is infantry size, so that's one of the reasons why War Sleds are so great. So we pull back our War Sleds, ripping fat shots. Astrogoth, Foghorn Leghorn here, causing some problems as he keeps chasing. And Ulrika is an archer character that can shoot 360, so she can actually kite him and rip a shot. Look at that, oh, so cool. She's much faster. She does have 86 speed, so should be able to stay away from old Foghorn Leghorn here. Now, moving back up, I am pinned on the objectives. Looking on the backside, though, we do have our Armored Cossars. These dudes are pretty jacked. But the Chaos Dwarf Infantry were healthy. They had pretty much perfect vigor on the way in, and my Armored Cossars were already tired from fighting, so there's a chance they could end up losing this fight. So we're going to be summoning in a Snow Leopard, not because it's good against them, but because it has armor piercing and can get there quickly, and I didn't really have anything else in reserve. So, yeah, tricky choices. Streltsy, guys, big one for all of you Kislev enjoyers out here. Streltsy are actually pretty good now, and they fill a similar role to Infernal Ironglaves. They had a weird bug with them where they wouldn't attack the right target. They had a weird splash, so their splash attacks made them very poor for one-on-one, fighting other infantry and whatnot. But Creative Assembly did fix Streltsy that they're actually pretty good fighters now in melee. So you can use them to fight cavalry and shoot and be a pretty resilient unit. So the Streltsy were called in. but Astrogoth's going to be back there shutting him down. He's just such an unholy menace. So, you know, I'm not trying to kill him, basically just, you know, if there's an opportunity and he's isolated, yeah, we'll for sure go after him, but for now we're just kind of, you know, trying to avoid him and do what we can. So more of the big boys coming in, Bull Centaurs with dual weapons. I'm a little bit ahead in value, but only by 700 or 800. I don't have any healing outside of Ulrika, so it's still a very, very pitched game here, as the Chaos Dwarves do bring in the dual weapon variant. So my cavalry should be a little bit better here, but I didn't know they were the dual weapon variant, to be honest. I thought they were the anti-large because they get spammed pretty heavily, but on the bottom side, we do get the point. Chaos Dwarf Infantry and the Hobgoblins slowly losing it. Kosovo Dervishes coming up, going to be getting a rear surround and trying to hammer into these Chaos Dwarfs right here. Now back up here, it looks like this objective is going to be firmly in control here, as Astrogoth going to be using another Flamestorm. And honestly, Flamestorm and his Hellhammer ability, they're both pretty good against infantry, so just whatever you like using, and yeah, he gets the job done. So Astrogoth, a bit of a tongue twister there, isn't it? Going after the Streltsy, we do see the Bull Centaur Renders moving back to shut down the guns. Little Groms have repositioned, ripping some shots into the dual weapons, but going to be pursuing heavily with the Kosovo Dervishes and also summoning in some Warbear Riders soon. All the sleds are still functional. We do have 4 models here, 3 models here. I believe, actually no, one of the sled units might have gotten taken out, but we're using our Kosovo Dervishes to chase down all the tattered Chaos Dwarf infantry and the laborers and different things like that. And Dervishes, again, still a very, very good unit. And like I said, Kislev just has a lot of good units, but yeah, just kind of plagued by some of their magic, I would say, and the fact that their roster is kind of limited. So unsummoning our little Groms here, they used all their ammo, so this is a big thing because I get a pretty decent refund from those guys. So now we're going to be summoning in the Warbear Riders. You see how it took 10 seconds to unsummon them, so if my opponent had seen that and moved over there, he could have counterplayed that. Warbear Riders are actually pretty awful against Astrogoth because he's infantry sized, which I feel like they should make him large. It would give you some more counterplay for dealing with him, but the Warbear Riders going to be hunting down the Bull Centaurs, as Ulrika continues fighting on the other side and just healing in combat, so it's something you don't really think about, but it makes her a very, very sustainable character. She's got great combat stats too, being a vampire, and she also has some duelist abilities, which I didn't bring, but I think one of them might be worth bringing. It's like an AoE debuff, and it buffs her combat stats, so in a dueling situation could be very good. But the Bull Centaur is trying to get away from the Bear Riders, but the big Bear Boys going to be moving in, and they do lose to the anti-large Bull Centaurs, but against the dual-wielding variant, they should be very, very favored. So they get the charges in there, and they're about the same size. I mean, those are literally bears. Bears do not mess around. Sleds come in with the rear charge, trying to pin them into place, allowing the Warbears to get the good engagement there. Up on the high ground, we do see Chaos Dwarf Warriors, and El Gordo is on his way in, so Gordo's Backstabber going to be teaming up with these Chaos Dwarf Warriors. But we do summon in some Streltsy in reserve. We have a couple Armored Kossars, and the Snow Leopard is actually there as a counter against Gordo. So Gordo could be in some trouble, as he is large, and the Snow Leopard should put up a good fight against him, although El Gordo, his stats are really good. 58 is like crazy, crazy strong, right? So he does get the charge on me. My micro was very, very focused up here. Ulrika going to be dropping another Pit of Shades against these elite Chaos Dwarfs. And even Chaos Dwarf Infantry, the baseline ones, are pretty elite. And I do hit myself with the Pit of Shades, but overall, trying to punish the fact that Chaos Dwarfs do not have magic resist, and we are able to tear them to shreds. In conjunction with Ulrika's bonus for its infantry, she gets the job done. And again, just ignoring Astrogoth. If the opportunity presents itself, I will go after him. But as of now, just trying to get away from him. So the Warbear Rider is going to be fleeing the scene, although they did some okay damage against his 130 armor. Astrogoth did not bring his armor ability, which is a must bring, because right now he would have 30% physical resist, which is crazy, crazy good. But typically, you guys always want to bring that. It is so incredibly strong. Kosovo Dervishes is going to be running into the Laborers and Hobgoblin Cutthroats. These guys do have the leadership buff, of course, by being near Chaos Dwarf Infantry. But using some screening here with the Kosovo Dervishes and Ulrika, looks like we will be able to grab the objective. And the Warbear Riders are also very healthy, so they're going to be able to put some hurt on any sort of good quality troopers that come out. And oh, those aren't Chaos Dwarves. Do they give them line authority, though? Hang on a sec. So they're getting +8 leadership. Not from the Hobgoblins, because they don't have the Contempt. Oh, it's from the fleeing Chaos Dwarves. The fleeing Chaos Dwarf Infantry are buffing them up, which is pretty funny. On the backside, we got more Hobgoblins coming in, as well as Laborers, but we have this game pretty much on lockdown. The Streltsy just being absolute jack dudes, the dreaded Italian Spartacus gunners. That guy totally looks like Sparty. They are getting in and battling Chaos Dwarf Infantry pretty effectively with their armor piercing. So now that they've been fixed, I mean, Kislev could, I wouldn't say they're going to be like top tier suddenly, right? They still have many of the same problems they had before, but the fact that they have access to Lore of Shadows is huge. The Streltsy have been fixed. Warbear Riders got additional weapon strength as well, so Kislev has gotten some good buffs in this patch, which I think could make them quite a bit better, which is super exciting. They've always been one of my favorite factions. Obviously, my wife is a Polish, so, you know, it's all in the family here. Astrogoth does get surrounded, and it looks like he's going to be getting karate chopped. Ulrika coming in, and she's a very good duelist with high combat stats, so even though she will struggle against the armor, she might be able to put enough hurt to finish off Astrogoth here, so he is broken. running for the hills with about 700 HP, and that probably is going to be the end of the Chaos Dwarves. I don't see any way for them to come back being down by, 1,500 value, and we have the 2 cap here, although, I don't know, we'll have to see, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have to see. So Astrogoth gets broken. Chaos Dwarf's going to be surging forward with more infantry, and we do see the Unholy Legions of Chaos Dwarf infantry. Bottom objective is going to be flipped for a second as the Orc Labor is doing some good work. Streltsy trying to fight, but El Gordo here doing a good job. As the Warbear Riders do finally make their way to the low ground, Warbear Riders going to rip El Gordo to shreds. We do get some cavalry. The Kosovo Dervish is going to be circling around the back and just completely crumbling that Laborer force. Ice Guard Glaives have made their way in. They should be able to put some, slowing effects down in the Chaos Dwarf infantry, allowing me to get a bit of a surround. So I then move my cavalry up around the back. I rear charge in so I can continue shooting them, and those Chaos Dwarfs are going to be crumped by the Ice Guard as well as the cavalry. Streltsy fighting very, very well in combat, backed up by the Armored Cossards with great weapons. Ulrika just doing work and battling with the troops and being really tough to kill. The healing is so good, and it's the hunger. So I think it's the same as like regular vampires. Let's check. Is it 0.2? Oh, it's 0.1. Okay. Leadership is higher than broken, yeah, so that's all she needs to heal. As the Chaos Dwarfs continue to roll in, but at this point, it's just going to be too hard, I think. In the back, we got Warbear Riders. We do have Kosovo Dervishes kind of chilling at the point, and we're going to be getting to the point where we could win on one very, very soon here. And yeah, you can see those Chaos Dwarf infantry getting taken out by the cavalry. More cav pushing in. Orc Labor is getting absolutely hammered, but the Bull Centaur is doing a good job moving up, and I was actually impressed at how well they were able to kind of rally back. Warbear Riders fighting desperately here, but they are fighting the dual weapon variant, so yeah, they should be okay. Ulrika fighting with them. Up to 329 kills. Absolute beast. Heavy war sleds just waiting for Chaos Dwarf infantry to move in. Snow Leopard just trying to get quick capture weight there so we don't get it flipped. But we're very, very close to winning on one objective. So basically, if I get to like 1450 before he gets to 1400, or if I get 1451 before he gets 1400, then basically he has no chance of winning. And you can do little snap calculations like that. The Boyar has also been really good this game. Just having a dedicated anti-infantry dude cleaving through infantry. I like that combo. Like Ulrika and him, you can even start with him in your army, and he can put up a fight against Astrogoth. He'll obviously lose, but he costs like 700 or 800 bare bones. He's quite cheap. I think it's more than that, maybe like 8 or 9, but that is going to be GG, ladies and gentlemen. And Kislev has done it. I honestly think this matchup isn't bad for Kislev. Like, I feel like they might even be favored against Chaos Dwarves. I played this matchup with, here, obviously against Subutai. I played it against Anticity a couple times, and every single time it felt like Kislev had some really good tools against Chaos Dowie, which is so awesome. It's like, yeah, Chaos Dwarves feel really strong in a lot of matchups, and overall, like, they have their strengths, they have their weaknesses. I think even matchups in which they struggle, it's too early on to say like, oh yeah, this is like favored one way or the other, but like, it's cool to see that. Like, I think they're pretty well balanced outside of Magma Cannons and Astrogoth. I feel like Chaos Dwarves are pretty well balanced, which is pretty rad. I'm happy to see that. So looking at everything, and it's like Astrogoth still can be beaten. He got 3,200 value, which is insane, but he also got some really good Flamestorms on elite units, which any caster could have done. Ulrika went Super Saiyan too. She got 3,300 with Big Pit of Shades and her good dueling. Little Groms, did okay considering they didn't have too many good targets, but if he had come in with any Chaos Dwarf artillery, they would have pounded. Sleds, good value on all those, 1,200. Not bad at all. Warbears, I think, were a solid inclusion. And yeah, Streltsy getting buffed is neat too. I'm really excited for this patch, guys. There's going to be so many fun events. I'm going to be trying to make a really fun LAN event happen as well a couple months after we get this all settled here. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you on the other side. I appreciate you all. Well played to my opponent here. And that is going to be it for tonight.